When you start living with the end in mind, everything starts to change. What are people going to say about you? What message is your life going to speak when you're long gone? Because you weren't born by accident. You didn't just happen to be where you're at and happen to watch this video. There is always...
Welcome to the Fuse Life Podcast. This is episode 148, Co-Creating with God for Your Best Year Yet. Now, I am super excited at the the idea that I get to co-create with my Father in heaven. And I'm so excited about this year because I have been learning over the last 4 to 5 years how to move with him. You know, when I first got saved, it was all about instruction. It was all about prescription. What should I do? What should I not do? What should I do? What should I not do? And that's what it's like for babies. Babies need prescription. Babies need instruction. Babies move on their parents telling them exactly what to do, and many times doing it for them and doing it with them, right? And doing it to them. And that's the life of a baby. But then you grow up a little. And upstairs, I have an 8-year-old, 6-year-old, a soon-to-be 4-year-old who probably thinks she's soon to be 40, Miss Sassy Personality. I love my kids. I get so much joy just watching them live, watching them thrive, watching them be who they are. Just imagine how much your Father longs to watch you flourish in the environments that he wants to co-create for you. Right? And we're going to hit this thing because this is the main reason why people don't have the years that God desires for them, that they desire for themselves, years that lead to purpose and fulfillment and meaning, years that pull them in to the things of God. And whenever we talk about good things, everyone always has to bring up, but Joseph, there's tribulation in the world, there's trials in the world. Yes, I am not denying that. But guess what? These trials, these tribulations, they're coming regardless. The challenges, they're coming regardless, okay? So they're going to happen. And there is a fallen state of the world that is going to do its thing. But you, my friend, are a redeemed part of this world, right? From another dimension. You are a reconciled, redeemed, restorative one who gets to create from that place. So I like to think of it this way. The rules that apply to the world don't apply to me. And some people don't like that. Well, when I read the Bible and I read about the promises that God has for me, most of these promises break the rules of today. They're not based on the pattern of the world. So I don't want to live by the rules that other people want to live by. That's fine. I don't want to. You get to decide. Do you want to live by the rules of this world, the pattern of this world, or by the pattern that you've been created for in eternity? By your Father in heaven, okay? So I watch my kids. I get so much joy. And so when my kids went from babies to becoming toddlers, they grew up a little bit. Do you know what happened? I started to invite them into the planning stages, the planning phases of life. I want to know what my 3-year-old wants to do today. I want to know what my 3-year-old wants to do this week. I want to know what my 3-year-old would like for her birthday. I want to know what my 3-year-old would like this year. How much more does your Father in heaven want to know and discuss this and dialogue this and talk about it? And you and your Father start to co-create. And so there are 3 things I'm going to hit because of time purposes, but I have a blueprint, 2024 blueprint unlocked. It's a video series. There is a second video that's going to get into that course this weekend. And this is all coming from the Royal Hybrids group training that I do. And I recommend you to check that out. But you might want to get this blueprint, okay? This blueprint will give you a workbook. And that workbook, you'll answer questions and you will create your own blueprint for the year. And there's 2 videos and a bonus video that goes with it to help you, okay? So make sure to check that out. I'll put the link in the caption. Now, why do I do that? Because I can't cover all of this in a podcast, okay? And there's other principles that we'll talk about this year. I don't want a bunny trail, so let's come back here. So co-creating. So 3 things that I want to hit, 3 reasons, right? Now, most people are just existing through life, surviving through life like a zombie. According to yesterday's pattern, Last year's pattern, the year before's pattern, just making it through. I want you to think about this, okay? Everybody at the beginning of the year is very happy. Why? Because they're like, hey, it's restarted. Last year's ended. This is a fresh start. It's a new start. This is going to be new. It is going to be great. And they make promises. They make promises to themselves. They make promises to other people. Whether you like the idea of resolutions or not, you make promises. Now, I love New Year, okay? I love the idea that a year closes, a year opens, because it lets you close a chapter and start afresh, just like every night. I love the fact that God has given us sleep. I could have the worst day possible, the worst day ever, and then I get to sleep. I get to rest. I shut off, and I go into this realm of infinite possibility, resting with my Father. And then I wake up and joy comes in the morning. His mercy is new every morning. I get to restart the day. I love that aspect. I love that part. But what people don't realize is that no matter how much I forecast a new year, my old me is coming into the new year. It is going to take me through. Now, people say, new year, new me. What does that mean? You're just going to try and change what you do? No matter how much you try and change what you do, if you don't address the problems in who you are and who you were, you will always get what you've always gotten. So that's why by February 6th, February 9th, most people quit on their resolutions, quit on their goals, and they carry on the same process, right? Because we are creatures of habit. We move on habits. So the three things that I want to hit, that if you can think about this year, it will cause you to create with your Father and actually have fun. Now, just before I go into that, this December was weird for me. This Christmas was weird for me. This New Year's was weird for me because in the past years, I would have a hectic year and I'll be doing this on my own terms, right? But I've been maturing, like I hope you have been. And so I didn't feel like I wanted a holiday. And so I'm around people that are having a holiday. I'm doing the holiday thing. But something in me was like, well, I don't need a holiday. I don't want a holiday. What's wrong? Why can't I get in holiday mode? And I spent a few days actually frustrated that, hey, I'm not getting in holiday mode. Like I'm happy to do coaching calls the week before Christmas, maybe the week of Christmas, and either day around Christmas. And as I'm praying about it and talking to the Lord about it, I start to realize, man, I lived 2023 to design, which meant that I had holidays when I wanted to have holidays, which meant that at the end of the year, I didn't need a holiday. I could have one, but I didn't need one. And I didn't want one because I was ready to create and begin the process for 2024. See, in the beginning of 2022 and 2023 in January, my time with the Lord looked like this. Joseph, we're not doing anything. I'd be like, oh, what are we going to do this year? Fuse and the business and the discipleship. We're not going to do anything. And my Januaries usually ended up me doing nothing because I was recovering from the way my year went. But this year, it was like I had established everything I wanted, including holidays. And in every quarter, that by the time the main holiday that everyone tries to program you for came, right? Everyone tries to program you for this end of the year rest and reset, and you go again. It's like the slave mentality. I didn't need it. And it was amazing. So I'm looking forward to this December, what it's going to look like, because I'm starting to live outside of time, the constraints of time, the constraints of a holiday season, right? And I hope you are getting what I'm saying here. You have access to this. You don't have to live to the constraints of the pattern of this world. And so I was like, man, how much can I share in a 30-minute podcast, 40-minute podcast? And I had to boil this down to three things, okay? So number one, you need to know God's heart. Most people don't know God's heart. I have a friend from Pennsylvania, and every time I say heart, he'll say heart, because obviously in America, you guys say heart. Right. Anyway, I need to know God's heart for me. I need to know that he cares about what I care about, that he thinks about what I think about, that this is not just an instruction game. We are moving on in maturity. This is not just a prescription game. We are moving on in maturity. And so in 1 John 2, when he writes to dear children, young people, fathers, mothers, he describes these layers of maturity. We go from babies that need prescription to then toddlers and teenagers that start to learn how to use principles. But eventually we mature into positional inheritance. We go from prescription, instruction, tell me what to do, to principle application. Show me the principles, I'll apply them, I'll use them, To mature into positional inheritance, I know who I am. I know what is mine. Right? And so when you don't know God's heart, you're not sure. You're not sure if you should have a good year. You're not sure if you should be prosperous. You want to see people freak out and manifest, to start talking about money and how God wants you to have stuff. And then it just begins. Money is evil. Like misquoted scripture, misquoted motives, misunderstanding around prosperity. Now, all these people just start hitting you. So imagine what's going on inside them, the confusion. If you believe prosperity is bad, then why don't you take the lowest paying job? Why did you want a higher paying job? If you believe prosperity is bad, then why do you have stuff? Get rid of stuff. If you believe prosperity is bad and that's, that it's the enemy, then why doesn't the enemy make everybody prosperous? Make all the believers, all of you, rich and ruin your life if it's that bad. So the confusion causes you to become a double-minded person because you don't know. Does God really want me to have a good year? Does God really want to show me what's coming next month? Does God really want me to plan with him and have a vision for my year? Does he really want that? And when you're unsure if it's, people say like, oh, the things God calls me to, they're hard. They got to be hard because that's how you know it's God. It's hard. So all this kind of mentality causes you to be confused. And when you are confused, you're double-minded, and a double-minded man shall expect nothing, because you're tossed to and fro. And so the first point that I want to hit you with is God's heart. Do you know his heart? Do you know his goodness for you? Do you know that he wants good things for you? When you know what your Father wants for you, in you, with you, that he wants to do through you, then there is no more double-mindedness. And now you are able to move in singularity or focus towards what he is doing with you, what you can design with him. A lot of people are scared to even tell God what they want, what they like. It's like you got to be ashamed of liking things and wanting things. It's weird. We have weird theology. And so this understanding of God's heart is number one. If you can take time to go deeper into knowing his heart, his goodness, his desires, right? Understanding his lavishness. How does heaven have streets made of gold? His lavishness, his extravagance. If you can understand that God is not moved by the amount of money or wealth, does not mean to God what it means on the earth, and that he will train you in it. If you can understand that he desires for you to be happy, his original intent was when he made man to be happy, live in joy, live in love, live in this creative space. If you don't understand God and you live in a Christian-esque understanding of who God is, it's very hard to create, and it is not a fun journey. There are a lot of people I know that don't enjoy their walk with God. There are a lot of people I know that are in ministry, they preach, they go all around the world, but don't enjoy their walk with God. They enjoy the high of being a minister. They enjoy the buzz of having a microphone and getting a platform. They enjoy the buzz of fame and glory, but they don't actually enjoy their life with God. That's why they have to go from ministry thing to ministry thing to ministry thing. They don't know how to stay home with their family. They don't know how to raise kids. They don't know how to do all that stuff. They don't know how to sit with people at a dining table. They know how to be on a platform with a microphone, but they don't know how to sit with someone at a dining table. They don't know how to have 7 days of nothing that looks like ministry. They don't know how to do this because they don't enjoy their life with God. They only enjoy the stuff. So I'm talking about enjoying your life with God. I'd like to submit to you that God designed life in such a way that you would enjoy it so much with him, that living your life with him is more fun than talking about it, teaching about it, preaching about it. Living your life with him is more fun and adventurous than talking about it, posting about it, writing about it. This would be more fun, okay? Now, I am online. This is my God-given assignment to be in the social media space. Social media is a kingdom of sorts. It's a kingdom that is influenced by all kinds of things. I am here on assignment, and I enjoy that journey. I enjoy that journey. Is it always easy? No. Is it always fun? No. But overall, it is freaking epic. So number one, God's heart. Do you know God's heart? And most people, they don't know it. Now, some people, they know that God has good plans. They know that God thinks good things. They will quote off Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans that I have for you, says the Lord." And they know all these scriptures. But when you look at their life, it doesn't seem to be showing up in their life. That scripture doesn't seem to be showing up in their life because they've not received it in their heart. They've not received it into their being. They know it as knowledge. They know it as a good concept, but they don't know it as experience. They have not gnoskoed it. You understand gnosko? You shall know the truth, and the truth will make you free. You will gnosko the truth, and it will make you free. Gnosko, like a man knows a woman, there has to be an interaction. You understand, when a man knows a woman, if it's only one way, it's called rape. You understand? Like, gnosko is a two-way experience. So what does that mean? That means that when I start to think about the promises of God, and let's say that I believe God has a good future for me, that I believe God wants to show me things that I do not know, Jeremiah 33:3, that he has these secrets he wants to reveal to me, Proverbs 25, that he has concealed things, and it's his glory to conceal it, but it's my glory to find it, for it to be revealed. When I understand this, then the gnosko means that when I read that God has prosperity in his plans for me, out of my mind, out of my heart, I start, let's say something comes up where I'm scared, or I have poverty thinking, or I have a poverty belief system, or I have some kind of resistance, because we all have different types of resistance based on your upbringing, based on what you've been through. You have limiting beliefs. So as I'm gnoskoing the truth, I go down to the root of it. And sometimes the root of it, or most times the root of it, is the very opposite of the promise. And I have found in my journey through prosperity, in my journey through understanding wealth, in my journey through understanding the kingdom and influence, I have found that when I get to the root of something, I have a deep opposing belief system to what that promise is saying. And I suddenly, the deep opposing belief system is making wealth is hard, that wealth is bad, or it's not actually God's will that everybody prospers. Because when we think prosperity, we have such a small understanding of it. And when I catch that root, as I'm gnoskoing this truth, it becomes a part of me. But most people don't gnosko because we pretend like we already have something we don't. And what happens when I pretend like I have something I don't? You can't even give it to me because I'm already pretending like I have it. It's like you come to my house and you're like, "Hey, I want to bring you food." And I'm like, "Well, I got food. Well, what's going to happen? I don't receive it from you anymore because I'm pretending to have something I don't." So you got people that don't know God's heart, and then you got people that know his heart or know his thoughts, but they haven't received it into theirs. They've not gnoskoed the truth to let it become a reality in their life. This is how you rewire yourself, right? Away from the pattern of the world to the pattern of creation, away from the pattern of artificial intelligence to the pattern of original intelligence, okay? So you want to go through that. So God's heart, know God's heart, gnosko his word, mix with it, mingle with it. Let his word read you while you read it. Let it separate your spirit and your soul. Let it divide within you and reveal the truth in your heart. And then let it rewire it. Boom. Very powerful, okay? And once that happens, you will start moving based on that. There are a lot of people who are trying to move. They're trying to act based on things they don't believe. You are a creature of habit, my friend. God programmed you like that for a reason. I will talk about that soon. So if you don't change your thoughts, you can't affect your beliefs. And if you don't change your belief system, you can't change your actions. Your thoughts lead to your beliefs, and your beliefs will lead to your actions always. And there is a reason for that. All right. So then we go into number two, goal setting. Most people don't know goal setting. We set goals like the world sets goals. How does the world set goals? I set a goal because I need to prove my worth. I set a goal because I don't have something and I want to go get it. I set a goal because when I achieve that, I will feel better about who I am and everyone can see that I am amazing. I set a goal so that I can feel valuable, feel worthy. I set a goal so that everyone can see that I am worth something. But in the kingdom, we don't play that game. Because Jesus dying on the cross, naked, bloody, marred beyond recognition, has already shown you your worth. He's already shown you your value. So when you start to see that, what happens when you run fearlessly? What happens when you know your worth and you don't have to play the game of trying to earn anything from anybody, but now you are running as a free son? What happens when you start running without the fear of failure, without the fear of success, without the fear of other people's opinions? What happens when you start running as one that's already at the finish line? What about running from victory? What does that look like? Can you imagine that in your life? And so goal setting was never supposed to be this, let me prove my worth and let me bust my butt to try and achieve something. And then hopefully I will think I'm amazing and everyone will think I'm amazing. If you are stuck in that kind of goal setting mentality, let me submit to you that there is another way that we can set goals. So what about if you looked at a goal like a desire? A desire in Latin, desire, D, meaning of, sire, meaning the father. You looked at a goal as a desire. It's of the Father. And it is a desire. It is something he put in you. Why did he put it in you? Because it is going to happen. He put it in you because it is going to happen. And you are just about to walk through that process. It's not something you are going to try your best to strive for and toil for and attain to prove something. No. It is part of the next journey you have with your Father that's already mapped out. And you are now about to enjoy that process. The Bible says that a man makes plans in his heart, but the Lord establishes his steps. Many believers don't understand this, right? We're like either, like especially Pentecostal charismatic Christians, like, oh, God's going to do everything. Yeah, I believe, I have faith. I shundi bundi, God's going to do it. So we want God to establish everything, right? Or we want to do everything. We will make the plans and we'll establish the steps. Or we want God to make the plans and establish the steps. But the book of wisdom, right, which is the book of Proverbs, says that the man makes the plans in his heart. The man makes the plans in his heart, the desires. He makes the plan, not God makes the plan. Not God makes, see, people think, oh, I'm so holy, I don't make any plans. God makes all my plans. Well, you're obviously not growing up. You're still a baby. You still want prescription. You still want instruction. When are you going to grow up? All of creation is not waiting for a baby. All of creation is waiting for mature sons who have learnt through using, who have learned through exercise, through practice, through training. They have become adults. They don't act like one. They have become one. And so I just lost my train of thought here, but because I'm bunny trailing. But if you don't train, you can't become. Now you can learn and you can know and never become. And never become. That's why there are people that preach amazing sermons on the love of God and don't know how to treat their wives. There are people that can preach amazing sermons on being a son of God, on the prodigal son and sonship, and still be craving for value and affirmation everywhere they go. There are people that can preach on revival and holiness and righteousness, and then you find out 20 years later in their ministry that the very thing that they were speaking against is in their life. Because you can learn and know and never become. So if you take the road of learning for knowledge, you will only have acting. You learn to know and then you have to act it out. But when you walk with God, he doesn't go down that path. He goes down the training. And when you train, you become. When you become, you embody. So you're getting to choose. Do you want to learn, to know, to act? Or do you want to train, to become, to embody? You know what happens when you train in love? It's bumpy. It's slower. People can see, oh, this person's not yet loving. But 5 years from now, when they have become love, they embody love everywhere they go. 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, in public, in private, they've become love. They can't be anything else. And so you're getting to choose. Do you want to learn, to know, to act, or train, to become, to embody? And that's a conversation for another day here. But the man makes plans in his heart and God establishes the steps. Can you learn that co-laboring, the co-creation? Are you willing to go on that journey this year where you and God together, you make the plans in your heart, but you hold them so loosely that he can establish the steps. I love to say in all my coaching conversations that HOW equals GOD. HOW equals GOD. People say, well, how's that going to happen? It's not your problem. It's not your problem. You're not supposed to figure everything out. That's your advantage. Being a child of God, you have a father who bridges the gap. You have a father who bridges the gap. What is grace? Grace is I move in things. I move in spaces. I do stuff that I can't do on my own. Well, how did you earn that? I didn't. It's a free gift. I received it. HOW equals GOD. So most people I meet, they can't take that next step to move into the deeper things because they're always trying to figure it out. How is this going to happen? How is this going to happen? How is it? That was never supposed to be your problem. So a man makes a plan in his heart. Well, what's the plan in his heart? He draws it out, man. He draws the vision. He draws it out. He maps it out. He writes the things. He has a whiteboard. He has a whiteboard. He has a keynote file. He has a PowerPoint presentation with pictures and dreams. And he's engaging God and talking to God the whole time. He's reading the word. He's watching the word through his dreams. Learning how to make the plan in your heart, but be humble enough to let God establish the steps. You don't establish it. He establishes it. Is a great skill, right? So goal setting, that's number 2. Most people don't know how to set goals with God. I'll just touch on a couple of other things. When you're setting goals, learning how to live from the future. You know, you were created to be just like your Father in heaven. You were made in his image. You were made in his likeness. Your Father in heaven does nothing that he hasn't seen the end of already. He knows the end from the beginning. And to a large capacity, you can know the end of things before you begin. Now, you might not know exactly what it's going to look like. How many of you have had prophetic words, prophetic things spoken over you? They've come to pass, but they came to pass in a way that you didn't think it was going to happen that way. But they did come to pass. The essence, its original intent of that prophetic word came to pass. It just didn't happen where you thought it was going to happen. It didn't happen the way you thought it was going to happen, but it happened. And so knowing the end from the beginning, starting to live from the future, stepping outside of time. This is something you want to practice. Ephesians 2:6, you're seated in heavenly places with Jesus. Where you are seated, you are beyond time. Time was created for us in this realm. Time was created to serve us. Let me bunny trail a little bit. There are 3 things that you must learn how to govern. Time, money, and resources. Well, actually, let's say time, feelings, and resources. Right? Resources, that's money and all the things that are given to you. Your feelings, most people are ruled by their feelings. And time, we have become a slave to time. Time is always telling us what to do, when to do, how much to do. But actually, these 3 things were created to be our slaves, our servants, not our masters. And that takes some practice, right? So number 2, goal setting. Setting goals the way God designed, the way God intended. Now, I can't go too deep on all the stuff, right? But this is all in the 2024 Blueprint Unlocked. There's a link there. Click it, check it out. You should jump in. If you're ready to design the year, that's for you. Okay. The last thing that I want to hit is habits. We are creatures of habits. God designed us that way. Your thoughts, when they keep getting repeated, they become a belief system. It becomes a story. And we all have thousands of stories, thousands of belief systems. And those belief systems always drive our actions, right? No matter how much you try and change your actions, if your belief system stays the same, eventually your actions are going to go back to that belief system. And so if you can understand that every day you're having somewhere, some people say 15,000, some people say 90,000 thoughts a day. These thoughts are reinforcing a belief system, and that belief system is causing you to act a certain way. I, as a personal trainer for 8 years, I'd have clients that come and they would tell me how they're trying a new diet, and they would try something, and their strong will would take them 8 weeks. I did a lot of challenges, body transformation challenges, and people would come, they'd lose a lot of weight, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, they'd lose weight, man, because they're forcing their actions to change. But their belief system around what sugar means to them, their belief system around what you should eat to have fun on a Friday night, on a Saturday night, their belief system about what you do on the weekend and what food means to them. If that belief system never changed, after the 8-week challenge, after the 12-week challenge, they go back to the same way of eating and put all that weight back on and more. A good example of this is The Biggest Loser. If you've seen The Biggest Loser, they take you to another environment. They're changing your actions, right? They take you to another environment. They make you bust your butt. They put you in this competitive space and a lot of unhealthy things. You lose all this weight. But then when that contestant goes back home, they're going back not just to the external environment, they're going back to the internal environment that brought them to the obesity in the first place. So the belief system is still the same. And that belief system causes them to then start eating chocolate like they used to, start eating donuts like they used to, start covering up their pain with food, start covering up their pain with sugar, start looking to food to make them feel happy. You know how many believers do this? And people don't talk about this subject. I don't know why, but food can take Jesus's place in your life. You can be praise Jesus and then stuffing your face that afternoon. Food is trying to take the place of God in your life many times. You understand what I'm saying? And today is not that subject, but hopefully you understand that habits, you were created as a creature of habit. So learning how to add new habits, replace habits, break old habits, right? Break old ones. How much time it takes, intention that it takes. That is a journey that a lot of people are not willing to go on. And coffee is, or caffeine, the most widely accepted drug of 2024. If you cut caffeine supply to regions, to cities, to suburbs, to nations, anarchy, it's going to go nuts. Caffeine and Wi-Fi. You shut that off from a lot of places and boom, you're going to see craziness. So learning how to stack good habits, learning how your processes will always lead to the outcomes. So one of the things that I've seen great success in my own life and with people that I've coached is that when they have an outcome, when they have a goal, when they have an end destination, we reverse engineer that process into simple steps. So for example, if I want to drop 12 kgs in 12 weeks, then I reverse engineer that to, okay, well, that means that in 12 weeks, 12 kgs, that means 1 kg per week. All right. Then I go, well, how do I drop 1 kg per week? And I do some kind of formula, working out a framework to go, okay, well, I need these many calories and I'm burning these many calories. Right. Once I have that set up, then I go, well, every day, what do I need to do? And I'm able to have my 5 things I got to do every day. My 5 simple things, like stick to this plan, get this water, go to bed at this time, train in the gym this much, stretch, rest, recover. I have my plan. And so every day, all I have to do is commit to the process. Not keep dreaming about the outcome, searching for it and hoping it will happen. No, I commit to the process. And you start to change that's how you change your habits. That's how you start stacking habits. Commit to the process today. You will reach the outcome tomorrow. Now, learning how to commit to a process, you learn how to govern your feelings. Because do you understand that most people don't want to go to the gym every day? Even your biggest fitness influencer doesn't want to go to the gym every day. They have feelings. They don't want to get up in the morning. They might be sore from yesterday's training, right? They might just want to eat donuts, stay in, eat ice cream, watch Netflix. Everybody has these feelings. So you start learning how to govern your feelings. You start to become a person that's not driven by temporary instant gratification. Now, why is that important? Because you were created for eternity. God has put eternity in your heart. That's a long game. That's not instant gratification. You were never designed for instant gratification. And that's why people that chase instant gratification aren't able to build anything solid. They aren't able to grow into the fullness of what God has for them because they still think very temporal. And we were never designed to be temporal. We were designed to be eternal. We were designed to think generationally. Right? So even with this food thing and training thing, like a lot of parents don't realize, if you go down this path of overeating, not exercising, not moving, your patterns, you've already trained your children in that. Your kids, you reproduce who you are, not what you know. And so if you are an eternal thinker, you're thinking generationally, you think about how you're going to affect your children and their children's children. You understand when you're in a family lineage of activity, exercise, healthy BMI, healthy body fat, good eating, it just passes on. Your children just grow up. It's normal to them. But when you are in a generation of excessive carbohydrates, excessive sugar, overeating at nighttime, no exercise, no activity, that also passes on. But when you're instantly gratified and that's how you live, you're always in the temporal, you can't set things up. You're not in your original framework. God designed you to be generational, to think generationally, right? So stacking habits become important. And when you start stacking habits, one of the things that people get hung up on is it has to look the same every day. But in reality, if the essence is there, then how it looks, what it looks like, the time frame it has, doesn't matter. For example, brushing your teeth. Now, I know these days you got these electric brushes. I have one of those, and it kind of gives you it starts vibrating after 2 minutes. Like it's letting you know, hey, you did 2 minutes of brushing. But in reality, over my 38 years of life, I have brushed in different ways. I tried to keep it the same. The essence was the same, but I've brushed in different ways, different lengths of time, different amount of time, but it didn't matter. The essence was there. I was getting the cleaning done. So gymming, when you get so formula focused, you're like, oh, I got to go 60 minutes and it has to look like da, 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 da. But when it's framework focused, you know, oh, I got to challenge my muscle. I got to challenge my heart rate. I got to stretch, recover. Then you can get the essence done in different ways. So stacking habits with the Lord always comes back down to the purpose of what you're doing. It comes back down to the essence of what you're doing. And you can get that done in multiple expressions. And so the bondage and the slavery formula way of thinking doesn't have to stick on you, right? So hopefully that made sense. 3 things: God's heart, proper goal setting, and stacking habits. That this year, if you want a 2024 that's going to blow your mind, you're going to have to engage these things. Now, let me tell you this, right? And I got to tell you this, like, we can over spiritualize and we can come up with theology to support whatever we want. And you know how many people say to me, be like Jesus, be like Jesus. Yeah, you're like Jesus in your spirit. Are you like Jesus in your soul, your mind, your will, your emotions? Are you like him? How quickly do you get set off? How easy is it for someone to offend you, or for you to get angry, or for you to lose your stuff? So will you, is that your heart? Do you want to let your soul also reflect him? And then comes the body, and people hate this. Like, I'm like Jesus in my spirit, my soul. And what about your body? What about your body? Do you do with your body what Jesus did with his? Right? He demonstrated something to us, right? And he was fit. Jesus was fit. He had to be fit back then, but he was fit. Well, I guess you didn't have to be fit, but in many ways, lifestyle made you fit. So it's something for you to think about as you look into your year. When you are a child, you want prescription, instruction. You kind of just go with whatever's happening because you're like, well, I don't really have that much say. You're very temporal in your thinking, right? My 3-year-old right now, the max she's thinking about is this afternoon. And the biggest thing she's probably worried about is whether she's going to get a cookie today, right? Or it's changing now. It's going a bit deeper, but that's where she's at. But as you grow up, the thinking grows up, the processing grows up, the looking forward to the year grows up. Everything grows up. And when that grows up, you start co-creating with your Father, co-laboring as a co-heir with your Father. And that's fun. That is fun. So I want to encourage you again. If you are like, yeah, I want to move. I want to do something about this, right? Don't be a hearer only, be a doer. Now, some people, when you're a kid, you might be more of a hearer than a doer. But if you are like, yeah, I do want to move, then click that link, get that blueprint, do the homework. Do the homework. Actually do the workbook. There's a video to watch. There's a bonus video. Do the workbook. And then there'll be a second one this weekend. So I'm really excited to release the second one with the people that I coach. Now, let me end with this. The reason I coach, right? The Lord specifically told me, don't preach about it, don't teach about it, coach people into it. Coaching means I have to gnosko with people. We go back and forth. I ask uncomfortable questions, right? But after a while, all the people I work with, they learn how to ask themselves the uncomfortable questions. That's part of growing up. You know, when I'm raising my kids, when they're really little, I got to do a lot of stuff for them, and I can't have too much conversation with them because they can't understand. But my 8-year-old now, she's grown up, and the world is moving so fast that she's grown up into things. And we talk about stuff. We have to. We talk about stuff that maybe 20 years ago you talked to a 12-year-old or a 15-year-old. It's beginning with an 8-year-old. But I ask her good questions, challenging questions. And these questions cause her to think, and they cause her to look at things a new way. But now these questions are becoming a part of her lifestyle. And so as a coach, that's my job, to ask you these questions, ask you hard things. I'm not looking for the 3,000 people who want to come onto whatever I do online and ask for a prophetic word. There is enough people looking after the babies. There is enough early childcare centers around the world. I'm here looking for ones that go, I'm going to take hold of what my Father has for me. I'm going to grow into it. I'm going to mature into it. I'm going to look more and more like him, not just in ability, as in praying and healing the sick or raising the dead or casting out demons, not just in ability, but in likeness, in nature, in character, in submission, in humility, in purposefulness, in meaningfulness. I'm going to look like him in every way, right? I'm walking with people like that. And so these conversations are a bit deeper, and it's not for everybody, but it might just be for you this season that you start to grow up a little bit. Right? What I know is all of creation is groaning for all of us to step into this thing. And in the next coming weeks, I'm going to talk about Moses-style leadership, which is very different to Joshua-style leadership, and why we are seeing a generation of Moseses and Joshuas get separated, right? And just quickly, Moses was never a generation. Moses was a deliverer. He was an individual man. His role was to get people out of a bondage, get people out of something, right? But he didn't know how to take them into something new. Moses didn't have that ability to take a generation with him. So Moses-style leadership looks a certain way, but Joshua was a generation. To take the promised land, they all had to go into it. They all had to grow up. They all had to cross the Jordan. Jordan meaning death to self. There is a Jordan crossing. If you are going to mature, right, and come into a place that's your promised land, where you become a landowner, where you become one that now starts to cultivate the space in your life to make it look like heaven, you have to grow up into that. That's not going to happen for children. We grow up into that. And so I'm seeing the shift, and this year will be a big one, right? It'll become very obvious, Moses-style leadership and Joshua, the generation. And I want to encourage you that you are Joshua generation. There is a promised land that you can see. You think differently about it. You have a conquering spirit. You have something in you that's able to take the land. And this is how we do it. We begin with these kind of simple moves. So get that blueprint, click that link, get that blueprint, get in there, communicate with me, send me a message, send me an email. I love moving with you. And I'm super excited. I hope you got something from today's conversation. Tag your friends, share this with your friends. This is going to happen weekly as I'm moving into a new phase now. So let me know in the comments, man. Tag me, tell me how it was. Tell me anything. It's great. I love communicating with you. And the link is in the caption. So there'll be a link there called Blueprint Unlocked. And there's 2 parts to that. Okay. So part 2 is going to get added this weekend. Super excited for that. Love you lots. Hope you have a butt kicking week. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.